Well, well, well. Turkish and French clubs getting one over Premier League sides, and the legend of Jude Bellingham continues, man. What a player. It was a wild week of the Champions League, guys. I hope that you caught some of these matches because there were some truly incredible ones. Tuesday especially blew me away. But if you didn't, that's what the UCL This week is for. I'm Adrian. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more from us here at Rabona TV. We do all kinds of videos. Other than that, let's go. This will be a long one. What a game. United versus Galatasaray saw Rasmus Højlund score in consecutive Champions League matches as he provided a head for Marcus Rashford to ping the ball off of. That cross was whipped at him. All it required was a little direction from the Danish striker, and he provided it. Great direction as well. However, Galatasaray got right back into this game. That's sort of the motto of this match. Just 6 minutes later. And it was a proper Brexit goal, man. Absolutely hoof forward, let the big man Wilf Zaha fight for it with the defender in disarray, and then Zaha smacks it past the keeper. That was a big one, and it was assisted by Davinson Sanchez, by the way. Premier League link up. Massive improvements from United in the second half, however, as they absolutely rolled over Galatasaray like a tsunami at times with the way they were attacking, but United's go-ahead goal was a self-inflicted wound by the Turkish side. Lazy back pass by Sergio Oliveira, from which Sanchez slipped, leaving Højlund in a foot race against Bardacci. He's not a speedster, that's for sure, but Højlund is pretty quick and finished coolly past Muslera with a little scooped finish. However, Aktürkoğlu would get revenge as United's back line was undone with one quick pass from Yilmaz. As you can see here, both Amrabat and Varane watching the ball, Lindelof way out of position, leaving Dalot to cover two players and not really having a chance at either of them. And 6 minutes later, United were messing around with the ball at the back. It was given away to Mertens and Casemiro cleaned him out, giving away a penalty and getting a second yellow. Thankfully for United, however, they went down a man, but not down a goal there, as Icardi missed from the spot. After that horrible attempt at a tricky penalty this last weekend, you saw that? He then just straight up put it wide against United. Cursed from the spot at the moment, but not cursed in general, as he would score shortly after with a clever dink over Onana. Maybe Onana went down too early, maybe not. I mean, it did look kind of weak from Onana, but what's up with United's back line again, man? I know that it was a giveaway from Amrabat, but they're so disjointed and should not be undone by a headed clearance. Crazy. That was the game winner as well. 3-2 Galatasaray at Old Trafford, the first time in their 117-year history that they have won in England. Pretty sleepy performance from Bayern up against FC Copenhagen, but you also have to give credit to the Danes. They took the lead in the 55th minute, and at that point, you couldn't begrudge them of their lead. It was deserved based on the flow of the match. However, this match was much like Bayern's season, really. Despite not putting in a great performance, the Bavarians came out on the other side as winners once again. Musiala with the individual magic on the edge of the box as he stepped around a couple of defenders before smashing it low past the keeper. Then in the 82nd minute, Matthijs Tel continued his great season with yet another goal off the bench as well, as Müller unselfishly holding it up and squaring to the young striker for the winner. 2-1 Bayern, a nice little smash and grab at the end after the first hour or so was pretty damn even. So with that win, Bayern stay at the top of the table with 6 points, while Galatasaray are in second with 4. Next up, Galatasaray host Bayern, while United host Copenhagen, and we'll have to hope for the best there. They're on 0 points right now. We all thought that this group would be easy for Arsenal given how both Lens and Sevilla were in poor shape coming into the start of the Champions League. But RC Lens pulled off one of the big upsets of this very young Champions League campaign thus far with a 2-1 win at home against Arsenal. That's right. Premier League title challengers losing to 15th place Ligue 1 side that recently sold their 2 best players as well. That doesn't fit the stupid Farmers League narrative, does it? Arsenal's opener came thanks to a giveaway which found its way to Gabriel Jesus, clinical finish arrowed to the bottom corner. From there, it felt as though Arsenal would go on to get another, but it was Arsenal's turn to give it away. Beautiful goal from Lens though, controlled by Wahid, who did incredibly well. Dished off to Thomason, who hit it first time, curling it around Raya inside the post. What a goal. Arsenal nearly went ahead in the second half, but for Samba making a fantastic leg save for Lens. And then it was Wahid's turn to go from supplier to scorer. Again, a great first time finish that was guided cleanly into the corner, and Lens win. Massive result for them. Maybe they'll start to turn their season around now. After losing 4-0 away to Arsenal in the first match day, PSV showed great fight when welcoming the Europa League champions to their stadium on Tuesday. Luuk de Jong has been in incredible form for them this season, and they would rely on him once again. Ramalho scored in the first half, but it was called back. He then gave it away to Sevilla in the second half and was punished, but it was called back for a handball. This seemed like it was a decent match. I only watched the condensed version of it, but it was all action in the second half. After En-Nesyri hit the bar, Nemanja Gudel hammered one in for 1-0 Sevilla, but de Jong converted from the spot after a clumsy Sergio Ramos tackle. A bit hard done by actually, as Tillman was already going down in my opinion before Ramos even touched him, but there was no reason to dive in like that, and you're forcing the referee to make a decision, and in this case it went against him. Anyway, En-Nesyri put Sevilla back ahead a minute later, then they nearly got a third after Luka Bacchio hit the post, but in the 95th minute, a messy corner from PSV ended with Teze just slipping it past Nyland 2-2. And that was the final, and that doesn't do any favors to both Sevilla or PSV, as they are bottom of the group, with RC Lens now at the top and Arsenal in second. I feel for Union, man. They are having a nightmare season, and this one, they were so close to a good result, only to throw it away right at the death, just as what happened with Real Madrid. But the flip side of that is that Braga deserved a point against Napoli the other week, only to score a last-minute own goal and lose. That's harsh, but they got retribution. After Union had made history by scoring their first and second Champions League goals at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, Geraldo Becker, shout out. Again, a shame that they aren't playing in their actual stadium though. But after that 2-0 lead, Braga came storming back to make it 2-2. Then with what was essentially the last kick of the game, Andre Castro scored. 3-2 Braga from 2-0 down away. And get this, not only was the comeback incredible from Braga, but they actually managed to beat a German team. Portuguese teams almost never do this. It's a rarity, so shout out Braga. A much deserved win on German soil. Very happy for them, until we face them. One thing I hate seeing as a supporter is when my team is losing and my manager makes a triple substitution in the 88th minute, leaving it nice and late. You know, not making those changes a little sooner when you need them, and that's what Rudy Garcia did. But I won't be too hard on him, as this was a very entertaining match, and honestly, there were long stretches where Napoli were the better side and were close to breaking the deadlock themselves. So I won't be too hard on him. But anyways, let's get to the game. That was just a gripe I had to get out. Before we get there, however, Østigård opened the scoring, but Real Madrid hit back twice in the first half. First, Vinny Jr. finishing from a tight angle, calm finish after Bellingham, of course, had won the ball back deep in Napoli's end of the pitch before dishing to Vinicius on his left. Later, Jude Bellingham would exhibit his world-class ability once again, slaloming through Napoli defenders before arrowing the ball into the far corner for 2-1 Real Madrid, and then having that slalom celebration. He truly is an incredible talent. I always forget that he's just 20 years old. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, Napoli would equalize, and deservedly so, as Zelensky would convert from the spot, Osimhen not taking any more penalties after that TikTok from his own club that ridiculed him. But Real Madrid would get the win thanks to yet another Fede Valverde banger, incredible volley from the edge of the box that came off of the defender, then the bar, then Alex Moret's head and in. It sounds like a crappy goal when explaining it, but just watch it, man. An absolute rocket, which is typical from Valverde, though it was credited as an own goal. So 3-2 Real Madrid. That attack with Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Bellingham looked very, very scary at times. Real Madrid lead the group with 6 points. Both Napoli and Braga are on 3 apiece. Come on, Braga, get out of this group. That would be incredible. Sociedad, I love you so. Why did you have to be in our group? All they needed was 27 minutes to beat RB Salzburg in Austria at the Red Bull Arena. And just as he was last week against Inter, Brais Mendes was dangerous once again in this one. He slipped the ball through to Oyarzabal, who did a little twinkle toes routine before passing it into the corner of the goal for 1-0 Sociedad. Later, it was Mendes' turn after a stunning counter from Sociedad. I mean, look at this. Salzburg completely undone. However, I was nervous that he had messed it up by taking his sweet time with it, but he managed to score still in the end. And with a double nutmeg, which we all know means it counts as 2 goals, right? 2-0 Sociedad, the final. Inter definitely looked the better team for, 75% of the first half against Benfica, something like that. Around the half-hour mark, however, Benfica had a penalty shout when Barella tried to close down Neres and was a bit clumsy and didn't get the ball. A bit of contact with the Benfica attacker as both players went down, but nothing given. For me, it's one of those magnifying glass penalties that are definitely given, but I was ultimately okay with that one not being given because I would like to live in a world where slight contact like that doesn't warrant a penalty. Unfortunately, that's the world we have lived in though. So ultimately, Benfica were robbed and Inter are UEFA mafia, man. I'm gonna freak out on Twitter. That was a joke, by the way. I don't feel that way at all. Was there contact? Yes. Was it a bona fide penalty? I don't know. The second half was pretty harsh as Inter were absolutely dominant. Dumfries heading wide when it was harder to miss than hit the target. Lautaro hitting the bar nonchalantly with the outside of his right peg. He hit the left post with his left peg. He didn't bother hitting the right post though to complete the set. That's lazy from him. But finally, Inter took the lead thanks to a nice cutback from Dumfries to Marcus Thuram, and he didn't bother hitting the post. He smashed it past Trubin. Trubin, who was insane. He was fantastic for Benfica, by the way. Best player on the pitch for Benfica, which is never a good sign when your keeper is the best player on the pitch. 1-0 Inter the final there, and how good do they look this season? And as you can see, Benfica are in a really bad spot. Real Sociedad and Inter top the group, Salzburg on 3 points, Benfica with 0, zilch, nada. Okay, wardrobe change time as we jump ahead 24 hours now. Man, Group E. I'm having a ton of fun with Group E. The matches have been great so far. There's been all kinds of drama and great football. First off, Celtic scythed their way through the heart of Lazio's defense to make it 1-0 thanks to Kyogo after just 12 minutes. Paradise absolutely bouncing, and I'm not talking Coldplay. But speaking of a cold play, Vecino got a piece of a header that just barely beat Hart. Wasn't that cold, I guess. I just wanted to pun that. I feel sorry for Hart, though. A lot of people being hard on him for what was a difficult save to make. Vecino, by the way, you know what he reminds me of? I can't speak right now. Let's say you're managing a relatively shit team in FIFA career mode, or FC or whatever it's called these days, and the team is mediocre, but you have this one dude who is slow as hell, but rated like 79 overall. Far and away the highest rated player you have, even though you haven't heard of him, but he's just not particularly special at anything, you know? Like he has a high overall, but he's not special at anything, thus making him useless in the video game world. That's what Vecino reminds me of. I just find him to be very underwhelming, but I would already like to apologize to him. This was uncalled for, my bad. We had such nice memories together during my inter-career mode. I don't know, I guess I felt like talking about FIFA or something. Lazio will get the winner in the 95th minute, completely against the run of play, as I really thought Celtic were going to get one themselves, but just as they did last time. A late goal for Lazio, the late boys. This time from Pedro, 2-1 the final in Glasgow. Atletico Madrid and Feyenoord was my favorite match on Wednesday. And did you watch my monthly recap where I spoke of the correlation between lower possession numbers and positive results for Atletico? The logic still stands, as Feyenoord had more of the ball but ultimately fell 3-2. They fell into the trap, man. Feyenoord can really be proud of themselves though for this display, as they tried to take the game to Atleti and they were able to carve out some brilliant opportunities, forcing a goal thanks to a weird one really. Off the keeper, off Hermoso, and in after just 7 minutes. Feyenoord were very positive. Calvin Stengs especially was looking good. Later, Minte, on loan from Newcastle actually. Once he came on later, he was very good. Came close a couple of times. However, the legend of Alvaro Morata continues as he equalized shortly after following a failed clearance. Good poaching there. But later, from a long free kick, Stengs played it brilliantly to David Hanko. Decent stop from Oblak, but nothing he could do about the rebound. Oblak had quite a few good saves in this one. But at the death of the first half, Griezmann made it 2-2 as he scored after a messy play in the box. Shout out to Lino for looking good once again before Griezmann's funny little bicycle kick goal. Morata, he got the third for Atleti after the break, but the second half was all Feyenoord. They were ravaging Atleti at times, held in this match only by Oblak as mentioned, and some really, really close strikes from the Feyenoord players. 3-2 Atleti the final. Great game. Can't wait for the second edition. Atleti lead Group E with Lazio, which seems weird. Feyenoord should be in second. They've been the, second best team, I guess. Can make a case for them being the best team, though. Those Farmers League allegations are going away. Wait a minute. This wasn't how things were supposed to play out. Anyway, this just goes to show how silly those claims are when anyone can beat anyone in a one-off, right? And let me be clear, you cannot take anything away from Newcastle United as they trashed PSG. Sure, PSG had moments now and then. They had times where they looked scary, but they were mostly very, very well dealt with by Newcastle's back line, who are getting back to their best from last season. You know, that league-leading best defense in the Premier League, neck and neck with Manchester City. After a wobble to start this season, they're back, baby. And speaking of being back, Miggy Almiron scored the first goal at St. James's Park in the Champions League for about 20 years now after just 17 minutes. And 20 minutes later, Dan Burn, a local boy, doubled their lead. Lengthy VAR check kind of killed the celebrations, but hey, at least they got the call right? The atmosphere was still amazing. After the half, the tune was in ecstasy as Longstaff made it 3-0. Thought Donnarumma could have done a bit better there. And while Hernandez pulled one back for PSG, Fabian Schär got Newcastle a fourth. Insane night and a lovely, lovely gift for the Newcastle supporters who have been waiting that aforementioned 20 years for that experience again. 4-1 the final. Don't know what Enrique was doing with 4 forwards out there. Oh, what's that? Yeah, he was just not respecting his opponent and the cauldron he was entering. Live from Signal Iduna Park, it's a 0-0 draw, which is a shame for Borussia Dortmund in particular, as they really, really needed the points here. Milan, they'll fancy their chances in their doubleheader against PSG. Borussia Dortmund, from what we've seen of Newcastle, getting a draw at the San Siro and then trashing PSG at home, Dortmund will be shaking in their boots a bit, looking to those 2 matches against Newcastle that are coming up. AC Milan, they have some major issues when it comes to finishing. Major issues. They need to sort that out quick. These results see Newcastle top the group in a classic 4-3-2-1 formation, points-wise, that is. The goals were flowing on the day, man. It really was a great Champions League week, wasn't it? I'm sorry to Red Star and Young Boys, you were not at the top of my list, but I did check the goals out. I feel for Bakari of Red Star. Dude had a brace of offside goals in the first half, but he did set up Sheriff Ndiaye, so he did contribute. Young Boys, they stormed back in the first 15 minutes of that second half though, going ahead 2-1 before Bukhari got his just dues at the very end of this one, getting the equalizer for Red Star on 88 minutes. Shout out. Leipzig will have come into this game with memories of their 7-0 beatdown at the hands of Man City last season, while Erling Haaland will have come here with memories of his Bundesliga dominance and hoping for the same sort of outcome on the day. Well, he got his wish, kind of. He didn't score again, but they were made to wait for goals. That was poorly worded. Sorry. Anyway, Foden opened the scoring with what was a goal that they will have drawn up from the training ground. Diagonal through ball from Bernardo to Rico Lewis. The cut back to Foden, and it's in. Lewis, by the way, incredible performance from him. He's looking superb. However, the man who has been incredibly dangerous for Leipzig this season, a new arrival, Lois Openda, equalized early in the second half. Grealish showed off his version of wing play, shuffle, flick. But his flicked pass was given to Leipzig, who countered incredibly well. Great hold up from Openda to start the move, then darting in behind, as you can see here, before rolling it off the post and in. Great run from him. But City got their win in the end from Doku's version of wing play, which for me is a preferred version of it. He'd love watching him. His is more of a shimmy pass. A couple of body feints, pass, and Alvarez with some brilliance. The finish was reminiscent of that swivel and strike from Ronaldinho. Not exactly, but reminiscent. Control the ball, no run up, and slash at it for the finish past the keeper. World-class goal. And the third, which was harsh on Leipzig, was a stunning counter. As Leipzig pushed for an equalizer, Haaland did well to set off the counter. Alvarez played Doku through, and he made no mistake. 3-1, and City topped the group, with Leipzig following as expected. 5 goals in this match as well, a lot of high-scoring games, and this was no exception as Antwerp did their best. They really did, and I feel for them because they were always the underdogs in this group. They were. That said, they had a 2-0 lead at home after the first half, and they threw it all away in the second. From 2-0 up to 3-2 down, half an hour into the second half. Alternatively, you have to give Shakhtar a ton of credit for how they conducted themselves and never gave up. Great fight from them to see this through, but the final heartbreak, Toby Alderweireld, the man who gave them their first title, missing the goal from the penalty spot in the 97th minute. Ugh, painful. Porto hosted FC Barcelona in what was always going to be a very difficult match for them. Very difficult considering how good Barcelona have been on average this season. But Porto actually played quite well, We're a bit unfortunate to not have a goal and to not get a penalty. It was unlucky that Eustachio penalty that was cancelled. A bit unlucky in my opinion. They certainly had some great build-up play and were able to carve out chances for themselves, but once they did so, there was either nobody on the end of them or a wayward finish. That's unfortunate. So Ferran Torres' first half stoppage time goal was the winner. 1-0 there as Barcelona roll on at the top of the table with Porto and Shakhtar right behind them. Porto now have a great chance to build up some points as they have 2 matches against Antwerp. And that is all, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the football this week because I sure did. And if you missed it, too bad. I'm joking. That's what I'm here for. And hey, I'll be here for you next week as well. So ciao guys, be well.